Hello, Papoki here, and welcome back to another Destiny 2 Hunter build video. So today, I have been trying to figure out how to most efficiently deal with champions in the -50 Seraph Shield Conquest, and I believe I have figured out the best manner to actually deal with them on Hunter. So the combination of the threat level shotgun along with the Fortune's Favor exotic, Atheon armor set bonus, and some kinetic surges, Radiant Weaken, you can basically kill any -50 champion within around 3 seconds, even with slow and small active for the modifiers, and it is quite potent, and you can use it even outside of these activities. So let's get into things. First of all, what is threat level? Threat level is a kinetic rapid-fire frame shotgun that, when paired with the kinetic synthesis artifact mod, has infinite ammo. And while that's awesome and that is great, the thing that really makes this weapon stand apart from others is its perks. So in the first column, you want Cascade Point. Final blows or sustained precision hits with other weapons increase this weapon's rate of fire. So anytime you're using your other weapon like your primary or your heavy, basically just playing the game, the next time you switch to your threat level, it is going to have a massively increased rate of fire. This is huge for its DPS because it has infinite ammo, so the only way you're going to be able to increase your damage, aside from damage buffs, is by increasing its rate of fire, which is awesome. In the second column, we have All-Star. Very niche perk, but collecting ammo will load this weapon from reserves and give it a 35% damage buff. Now, well, usually this perk wouldn't be great for like any weapon, because threat level makes kinetic synthesis bricks at the rate it does, giving it, well, infinite ammo, means that All-Star will always be active and you can stow it and pocket it for later. Meaning, threat level is an infinite ammo shotgun that fires really fast and has a permanent 35% damage buff at all times. Now, if you don't have threat level and you don't want to run a raid, there is another option called Perfect Paradox. You can get it with a perk called a Stopping Power and All-Star as well in the second column slot. While it is not great for DPS, you can still technically run the build with it and kill champs with it. It just won't be as fast. Now, we've talked about the kinetic synthesis artifact mod, but what about the others? So very quickly, let's go over the encrypted data disk that we are going to be using for our artifact. So first up, we are using kinetic synthesis, of course. Sustained kinetic weapon damage and final blows will generate you a brick that gives you kinetic weapon ammo. So this is going to give threat level infinite ammo, and the more damage you deal with your kinetic weapon and how many buffs you have applied will equal more bricks. Then we have Power from Pain. When you defeat a weakened targets, they're going to give you Devour. So a single smoke bomb into a crowd of enemies, kill them all, you get Devour, very good. Then we have Singularity Blade. While you have an Avoid Elemental buff, melee and sword hits will weaken targets, and this is very good because the chosen exotic for this build is Fortune's Favor, so we will always have a Void buff up through Void Overshield, so just by meleeing an enemy with an unpowered melee, they will be weakened, which is going to make Kinetic Synthesis give a 100% refund instead of like a half refund. And then we have Dielectric. Defeating arc debuff targets grants Bolt Charge, and rapidly defeating arc debuff targets will spawn an Overpower and heal you. Since we are using Ascension, we are always going to be debuffing targets with things like Jolt, and this is going to give us Bolt Charge, which will help with our armor set bonus, which we're going to talk about here in a bit. And yeah, it's great. Now, the encrypted data disk has those great perks that we just talked about, but it also has a lot of them that aren't that great. So the other 3 slots that I haven't talked about, you can really use anything you want. Me personally, I am using Fierce Proximix or Press the Advantage in the first slot, and for the third slots, I am running Armorsmith for DR when I break a shield, and I'm running Counter Energy, so when I stun a champion, I get a little bit more ability energy for my least charged ability. Now, Kinetic Synthesis, like I said, requires a big damage buff on your weapon that is kinetic to get the most bricks out of the artifact perk. So in order to do that, we are using the exotic Fortune's Favor. Fortune's Favor is a very simple exotic. Whenever you're not taking damage, you will be given a Void Overshield. And whenever you have a Void Overshield, you are going to deal 15% more damage with your guns. It goes up to 20% with heat weapons, but blah blah blah, larp, right? And whenever you are at full health and you get a kill, it will also grant you a Void Overshield that slowly creeps into your health bar over time. Now, Fortune's Favor is a very good exotic, but it has one major downside. Trying to keep up your Void Overshield sucks, because Hunter doesn't really have many ways to get it up and consistent, but this build has a fix for that, and that is the armor set Atheon's Memory. So Atheon's memory, the Vault of Glass armor set bonus, goes as such. The two-piece is not that great. After picking up an orb of power, the next time your shields are broken, you gain a bonus to your health stat and release a burst of radial area around you. This is useless, don't worry about it. Then we have the four-piece Collective Power. While you have a subclass buff, dealing sustained damage creates an orb of power. Now the way this works is a little bit funky and weird. Compendium changes what it says and how it activates every once in a while, but it boils down to this. Anytime you have an elemental buff, let's say it's like Bolt Charge or Amplified or Radiant, right? Dealing damage with your weapons or your abilities, either or, are going to spawn an orb of power inside of you. It has a cooldown. No one knows exactly what it is. It's a little bit random because it's based on hits, based on whatever. But basically, just hitting enemies with your abilities or weapons while you have an elemental buff is going to spawn an orb inside you. And since we are running certain things in our subclass and in our mods, we are going to have permanent overshield uptime on Fortune's Favor just through the Atheon's memory armor set. Now, how are we actually getting that Void Overshield uptime with it? Let's get into the subclass. So for our Prismatic Subclass, we are going to be running Tether. Now, we are running Tether so that Facet of Purpose, a fragment, is going to give us Void Overshield whenever we pick up an Orb of Power. So when Atheon's memory procs and it spawns the orb inside of us, no matter where we are going to get half of a Void Overshield, and that is going to proc Fortune's Favor and buff the damage of our shotgun and make Kinetic Synthesis more potent. Then we have Marksman's Dodge. We are simply using this for the lower cooldown so we can loop amplify for Atheon's memory, and because it picks up nearby ammo so we can pick up the Kinetic Synthesis bricks whenever they're not right in front of us. And then we have Snare Bomb. This is a melee that is going to weaken enemies it hits for a little bit. This is a 15% weaken, and since we are running the Fragment Facet of Dawn, powered melee hits are going to make us radiant. So, in a single melee ability, it's going to weaken, it is going to radiant. This is going to massively help our DPS with threat level and the creation of Kinetic Synthesis bricks. Then we are running Duskfield Grenade. Duskfield Grenade is going to help us stun champs and control the room. It's just a very, very good ability. You could run Grapple, but most of the time you're probably not even going to use Grapple. So I personally think it's better to run Duskfield, but you can go ahead and run Grapple if you so choose. Then for our aspects, we are running the classic combination of Winter Shroud plus Ascension. Winter Shroud is going to slow nearby targets whenever we dodge, and when targets are slowed, it is going to briefly increase our class ability regeneration. And whenever we dodge near enemies, it is going to give us a 50% DR for around 4 to 5 seconds. And with Ascension being our other aspect, Winter Shroud is going to proc whenever we activate Ascension. Ascension is an air move that you can press instead of your class ability, which is going to jolt to nearby targets and give you Amplified. So with Ascension and Winter Shroud together, in one singular button press, you will get Amplified, a 50% damage resist, slowing and jolting nearby enemies, and an increase to our class ability cooldown. So, wonderful, right? For the rest of our fragments, we have Facet of Protection. While surrounded by combatants, we are going to get a 15% damage resist. This is just free, it's nice, it's easy, right? Blah, blah, blah. Next up is Facet of Hope. While you have an elemental buff, your class ability will regenerate more quickly. Now, whenever you have 2 elemental buffs, it'll be a 60% regen boost to your class ability, and since we are trying to loop our Ascension to proc Atheon's memory as much as possible, this is very good to help that loop be facilitated. Now, what are the stats, mods, and weapons we are going to use to aid this build even further? Firstly, for our weapons outside of threat level and perfect paradox, we are going to be running in our energy slot a unstoppable primary. Now, you can run literally any unstop primary, but personally, I like using whatchamacallit because it is a double champion stun with jolting feedback. I just like the gun personally. And for our heavy slot, we are going to be using Microcosm. Now, Microcosm solves a major issue with the ultimate Seraph Shield's conquest. Basically, the anti-barriers in that activity have such resistant anti-barriers that a lot of anti-barrier weapons simply cannot stun them. But Microcosm, with its perk, literally insta-kills any anti-barrier shield in the entire game within like half a second. Not to mention that Microcosm is a kinetic heavy, meaning our kinetic synthesis bricks we make from our threat level and from Microcosm will give ammo to both weapons. So no matter what we're using, threat level or Microcosm, both of the weapons will feed into kinetic synthesis and give each other ammo. Now for the stats, we are running 60 melee because we are going to be running 2 melee fonts in our gauntlets, making it to where we have 100 melee. For our grenade, we have 70 for the baseline cooldown to make sure we have it up at a decent time. And then we have 70 super, same reason, baseline stat to make sure we still have our super. And then we have 100 class. We have 100 class because we are trying to get our class back as fast as possible to make sure that we have Atheon's memory always going. Then for our weapon stat, we want 170 and as much more as you can get, right? If you can get 200, awesome, right? This is just going to increase our threat level and microcosmos damage, and it is going to give us more ammo per brick. For the mods on our armor, for the helmet, we are going to be running 1 or 2 dynamos. If you're running 1, run a heavy ammo finder, and then a kinetic siphon. Now, the helmet mods aren't really that great because it's the helmet. It doesn't have great mods to begin with. But yeah, just slap dynamos in there. You'll be fine. For the gauntlets, we are running the focusing strike mod so that when we get a powered melee hit from our smoke bomb, which will proc this perk multiple times, that will give us class ability energy back. Then we have the 2 melee fonts that were aforementioned to give us 100 melee. Then for our chestplate, we have 1 concussive dampener, 1 elemental resist of your choice, and 1 charged up mod to increase the amount of armor charges we have by 1. Then for our boots, we are running 1 better already and 2 kinetic weapon surges. Yes, you can run 3 kinetic weapon surges and push microcosm and threat level out as much as possible in the damage department, but better already has a synergy with faceted purpose and tether. Basically, better already will regenerate 100% of your health, but if you take any health damage between you picking up that orb and you reaching 100 health, it will stop that health regeneration. But since we are running faceted purpose and a void super, picking up an orb will proc better already and give us a void overshield, meaning if we take damage, it is going to damage the void overshield, not our health. So in a single orb pickup, better already will always give us our full health bar back. For our class item, we are running 1 powerful attraction, so that when we dodge, it picks up nearby orbs. This is just going to be a helpful utility. Then we have time dilation to make our armor charges last a bit longer, and a class font, so that when we use our ascension, we are going to have a little bit more overshield, just so if we're out of it and we need it for a champion, we can do a quick dodge and then have our fortune's favor procced. In order to show how this build actually works in game, I'm going to be running the Conflux on Master because a lot of people run this Lost Sector, so you have a point of comparison when looking at your builds or other people's builds. So for starters, I want to get the armor set bonus going, so I'm just going to ascend so I have amplified. I'm just going to get some hits in on enemies. This is going to give me an orb eventually. Like right there, just gave me the orb, so now I have my kinetic surges ready. So I'm just going to let these unstops come up here. I should have Cascade Point ready, so I should just be able to burst them down like that. Next up is the anti-bear. I'm going to get him to pop his shield. Go up with threat level. Dead. Clear some ads. Threat level makes a lot of transcendent energy, so if you ever need your melee ability back for like to kill champs faster, just feel free to use your transcendence. You're gonna have it pretty much all the time. Gonna go for this anti-bear, smoke him. Threat level, he's dead. Another anti-bear. He's dead. Unstop. Threat level. He's dead. Activate Transcendence to get this guy weakened. Proc Cascade. Proc Cascade again for our abilities. Overshield is still up because of the Atheon armor set bonus. Yep, boost it up right back again. And boss dead. It is really that simple. I was able to clear the Lost Sector before my super was even able to charge. Yeah, threat level is a little ridiculous. It's going to be in the game forever since the last patch has already came and went. So yeah, this build's insane. I've used it to solo plenty of minus 50 content already, just testing things in the game. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being a member, Davy, Maya, Zephyr, Froghead Dog, Rimu, Easties, Pukang Kang, Tanner White, Second Minx, Equitas, Juker, The Zesty Lime, Night DK, Kai Rain, Vinny Rotten, Danny Luciano, EU Brainrot, Kazuhira, Cause Milk, BKL Finest, Chris Dodge, Love Hate J, Mr. Spartan, Big Business, Tuna, R17A, Alley Cat, Vaughn, Emery, William, Will, Puppy Princess, Nufsy, Timma, Devilish Dealer, Salty the Great, your buddy Fred, Bombix, and Ecosystem. Thank you so much for being members.